Right, welcome to the Cordwell International Children's Centre for this special Sports Equipment Service podcast. And it's fabulous to see you all. Now, first question, a fairly obvious question really. Why is sport so important in your life? Holly?
Sport's been an incredible pathway to grow up, really. You know, I've met so many different people around the world that's, you know, made my life a better place, and also just the maturity from, you know, when I started out when I was like in 14 in Beijing to now is such a different person and athlete. It's made me grow up and realise that there's some serious good things out in the world.
Laura, and yourself, sport, how important?
Well, I think you'd have to reiterate most of what Holly says. I think the other thing about it for me is not just the fact of meeting people, obviously being fit, etc. But even things like, you know, if you go out and you exercise and it kind of clears your brain,
Yeah.
and it's really fabulous. For that. I think that's one of the best benefits ever, whether you're walking, whether you're swimming, whether you're jogging or whatever you're doing. It kind of clears the brain completely. And by the way, it's good for you if it's physical, which helps with your diet, which just helps basically with your life.
Yeah. And obviously, Dylan, you've been playing wheelchair football for how many years now? When did you start? 7. And what did it do for you? I mean, where were you at before wheelchair football, and how's it changed for you?
I was at a really low point, very unhappy because I thought I couldn't do any sport. Never kicked a ball, never really ran, never really did anything apart from school sports days. So powerchair football allowed me to meet people. Even doing a little bits of moving the joystick is a lot for me. I get adrenaline moving, just meeting people, building relationships that wouldn't have happened without sport.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think the thing about that as well is that, you know, I've never suffered from depression, but I could understand why people would. Yeah. If, you know, that is Dylan speaking, you can't get out of the house. You can't do anything. So every day is the same. I mean, there's nothing worse than that.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just alluded to it, Holly. You got support, I think, from Cordwell Children when you were 14. With, I think we supplied with some javelins, some spikes,
an arm, which was
and a prosthetic
absolutely it was what I needed, really. You know, I throw with a prosthetic arm to help the balance because obviously I am missing an arm, so it's what I needed in the equipment, and it was very expensive. And although Mum and Dad had to afford most of the things, you know, before this, but Cordwell, you know, absolutely played a massive part to compete in and what I needed to do. So.
And I think that's a lot of people think and assume, and I know when I speak to parents, they assume that everything's paid for. You know, if you've got a disabled child, everything's paid for.
No, it's not. Nothing free in life.
No, and as you say, without that support, could you have competed at all?
I mean, Mum and Dad took me out to Holland, where I actually qualified for Beijing 2008 Paralympics. You know, they funded everything, the hotel, the flights, the food, everything, and you know, we were lucky enough, obviously, for Cordwell then to be able to give the money for the arm, which was obviously really important. But, you know, if it weren't for the support of parents and family, I wouldn't really have been probably where I am today.
But that probably also begs the question, what would you have done?
Yeah.
Nothing as what Dylan's saying.
If there was any way of like, you know, there's a lot of crowdfunding and things like that, because I wanted to be and get to the Paralympics, so there would have been tried to find a way, but not everybody's that lucky, are they?
No.
So it would have been a real disappointment.
How did you find out about Cordwell Children? Was it just luck or what?
It was, I think somebody contacted Mum through, I think obviously with disability and the link with sport.
Yeah.
They got hold of me and that was it. I've been with them for a long time and they've supported me, and I've gone to the Cordwell Balls and got to meet some incredible people through the lifetime, so I'm very lucky.
Would that not be unusual, though, that somebody actually contacted Holly's mum? That wouldn't be normal,
no,
would it?
not normal. Not normally. I mean, obviously, we've been around for 19 years now, the charity, but that doesn't mean that the people just half a mile away have never heard of us, you know. Yeah. So it's really key to get messages out about what we do because, as you say, fortunately you found out about us. There's a hell of a lot of people who don't know about us and are probably really struggling to access sports equipment. Yeah. So it's fantastic that we've got this new grant through the Edward Gosling Foundation to actually go and support children now, and many, many more children for the next 5 years, which is fantastic. What's been the highlight of your career And how have you felt? Can you describe how that felt?
There's quite a few, obviously holding some of these, our boys.
Yeah.
There's two, and I can't pinpoint just one. There's two. It was when I first ever became Paralympic champion and broke the world record. I trained for 8 years. I'd sacrificed moving with my mum and dad. They moved all the way to Wales for me. But to be able to just be on that podium with that medal around me, breaking the world record for the first time, I don't think you can get any better than that. And the other one I can't choose between was Commonwealth Games. That was last year in Australia. I had my world record taken off me in the first throw, and I regained it back on the 6th throw and won the competition. It was just the excitement. There was no Australians in my competition at all, but the crowd was unreal. It was just such an atmosphere, and just to be able to not be defeated, not crumble under so much pressure. I wanted it so much, and I've trained hard. I've sacrificed, and so many people around me, my team, have put so much effort and time in for me to be able to win that gold medal. And it was just a very proud moment to be on that podium.
Was that your final throw?
That was
So
my
that
last
was it?
throw. Yeah,
Wow.
so I was improving on every single round, but she
Okay.
was currently leading. And then on the 6th round, I was like, right, this is having it. I can't deal with not being able to win this gold medal.
Brilliant.
And that was it. So they're my two, but it made me so proud of myself. I've come so far. People see me maybe in the podium with medals around my neck, thinking that my life's great, my life's happy. It's not. It's been very up and down, and there's a lot of mental health issues around there within the family, and everyone has to deal with stuff. That's fine. Life is life, but it's just nice to be able to be proud of yourself for once and do it for yourself, and not have it to do for other people.
I think the other thing as well is that it just shows that everybody's born with a competitive streak.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just don't know, do you? But
Tapping into it.
Absolutely, yeah, of course.
Yeah. And Dylan, I know you've done some great things representing England. Was it under 16?
Yeah, under 16.
Would you say that's your highlight? How's it been for you?
I'd have to say that's a highlight so far. Obviously, I've got a lot more years to come. But playing for them, I scored my first international goal. That was an unreal feeling. We built a bond with the 6 or so people who were there. And we become friends afterwards. We work well together, so you could see there was something there from the 16s.
Fantastic. And Mark, obviously, lots of medals, lots of success.
One or two.
What's your highlight? We're not talking the pub.
No.
That's for later.
I would say, for a club footballer, if you win the European Cup, that's obviously the ultimate, because obviously the World Cup is international teams, etc. But yeah, I think once you win, that's probably the best thing to have won. But I was fortunate. I played in a really good team, and we won loads and loads and loads. And I say to my kids now, do you want my medals when I pop off? And they go, nah, we'll just sell them, Dad. So you can ask me all sorts of questions about this, that, and the other, and they're like, yeah, forget about that.
But that European Cup final, 84, wasn't it?
84, yeah.
Penalty
God, it makes you feel so old, doesn't it?
Penalty shootout. I mean, did you feel as though you were walking on air? Had you had a lot of pressure?
No. Well, yeah. It's like when you compete, it's nerves, and people would say to me, in a thing like European Cup final, what's the worst thing? So it's just your nerves, and I said, but I'll tell you what, it's a cure for constipation as well. To be fair, it's the best cure ever, which probably Holly knows. But it is, because you don't want to let yourself down, you don't want to let anybody else down, and it's a team sport. Yours is obviously different, but it's a team sport, and you actually feel more responsible. But it's it is highs and lows, because the next year was Heysel. In Belgium, which obviously 39 people killed before the game, and the game was played, which was absolutely ridiculous anyway. So they are the highs and lows, and it's funny because when there's probably 7 or 8 of us who played together, we all live within half a mile of each other in Southport near Liverpool, but we get together and talk about Rome 84. We never talk about Heysel because of what it was, and it's just one of those strange things, and I don't think that would happen nowadays, because there's so many different avenues and stuff. But it's almost like, don't talk about Heysel. Yeah,
it's a difficult experience.
But it's all part of being a sports person, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And being a sports person, obviously, we're used to seeing images of people training and that monotony of the training. How important is that to make yourself successful?
It's crucial. I mean, I train 6 days a week.
How many hours is that? How many?
I don't count sometimes. It's not always about, some people might be like, oh, I train for 6 hours. It's what you do within 6 hours. It doesn't always mean that by training the longest is going to make you the best. It's about what you actually get out of that training session. So a technical session might only last potentially 1 to 2 hours for me, but we do a warm-up, which is nearly 45 minutes. Then we do ball throws, and then we go on to throw the javelin. So actually, all of them key points are crucial for me to be able to become a better javelin thrower. And I guess most people think as a javelin thrower, I just throw a stick, as most people say. But there's so much training involved. The gym 3 times a week. We actually do bikes and sprints and plyos and all different stuff that's within the training. And it's really, like Mark said, it's really good for your mental health as well. Just being out in the fresh air when we get sun, to go out there and be throwing, you just feel like you're in a completely different place.
Yeah, and the legendary 5-a-side games at Anfield, and what was the training regime like there? Is it?
Well, it was legendary because we didn't train very much. We didn't. Whereas if you look at football now and everything, you can actually have a camera on yourself when you play all the time, and you can get pulled in on a Monday morning and said you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you didn't do whatever. We had none of that, but we just used to play 5-a-sides because it was hard work. On half a pitch as well. It was really, really difficult, and it was very, very intense. There was no kind of challenges because obviously you don't really want that. People get injured. But the fact was that the way they were at Liverpool, the famous boot room, was just a case of, maybe even we only ever did an hour. Yeah. And everyone got, is that all you're doing? Well, but it's enough. It's enough. And it was almost like, it's like repetition. It's like anything. And we never did free kicks, set pieces, anything like that. And, the famous thing they just say to you, look, if you're not good enough to deal with it, go and play for someone else. Completely different than it is today. But it's all kind of relative. And I think it's like anything. It's, when whether an athlete, whether a footballer, whatever they are, if they're good enough, you take them so far, and then they've got to take over and do the rest of it. Yeah. And it's like your coach, and he tells you this, tells you that, but in the end, there's a point where you've got to go over that brow, whatever it is, brow of the hill, whatever it is, and that's the one that makes a difference, and it comes from inside.
And your dedication, obviously, I've been to 2 of your training sessions. I mean, how intense is that? How difficult is it as well to get to training?
We do, obviously it's not as rigorous as Holly is doing 6 hours or 6 days, but we do two sessions a week, about 2 hours each. It's like Holly says, it's not how long, it's for what you do in them. We try to make the most out of them, practice set pieces, dribbling, everything that we think we need for the next game. We put a hell of a lot of hours into training in preparation for the matches. We don't just turn up and go, we'll just have a chat for an hour. We don't do. We try our hardest for what we can do.
And he probably does wheelies and donuts as well, which he's not mentioning, as he was doing this morning.
I want that good.
How much is success, you just alluded to it again, I think, in the mind?
You've got to have the basic ability, haven't you? You've got to have the tools that are going to provide you with the fact of being in a position to be successful. But yeah, it is. I mean, we're sat here this morning, and did you watch the England cricket team yesterday?
Yeah,
it's absolutely fantastic. Unbelievable. And sometimes you look at sport and you think it is fate, isn't it? Because what happened with Stoke, certainly, and the extra runs and stuff when it hit him on his backside. But you've got to want it. It doesn't come to you. And I mean, just that easy. I play with some unbelievable players, but people in football will talk about people like Ronaldo now and Messi, and they say, why are they so good? Well, yeah, they've got fantastic ability. You know what? They work the socks off. And they stay behind and work the socks off. And, when push comes to shove, when there's that difference, as we discussed before, it's it's an inner thing, which is like, I want to do this. I really seriously want to. It's like Holly, like a last throw. She knew it was a last throw to win the medal. And she'd lost it, obviously, after the first throw. And it's sheer bloody mindedness and determination that gets you there.
I would definitely say, I think we've all got it within us. It's how you use it and tap into that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always been quite stubborn when I was
Yeah.
a little kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, your mother said that before.
But I think that actually helped me because my dad calls me a warrior. He says when you go into, he calls it the arena, he's like, you just change completely. And that's the difference, you know. Can be nice competitors, however, you know, I want to be, but as soon as I'm there to win, I'm there to fight. I'm not there to make friends or have a chat. You know, I completely changed. And I think it's a lot of work. I work a lot with that, with psychology, to like help me keep that, because we're in the field for a long time. I guess for, you know, when you're playing football, it's 90 minutes. You know, it's a long time, and you know you have to wait for each throws, and you know you're thinking, oh my god, how am I going to keep myself switched on and keep myself going? But
do you listen to music or anything like
I'm
that?
not allowed to. So when we're allowed to listen to the music until we go into the call up. And when we're in the room for a call-up, there's no music, no nothing. So your phone and everything gets taken off you. So you're physically in a room staring at competitors.
Yeah.
Now that is where...
Yeah, you'll
for
probably
me,
think I'm going to batter them now.
yeah, pretty much. But that's quite scary, you know, to be in, especially when I went to Beijing at 14. I was sitting there in the room like, I just want to chat to people. Again, 14, I was a completely different person. Yeah. But I was just like, why is no one speaking to me? Why is everyone staring at me really funny? Now I'm literally just like, I just don't bother talking to him. But I think it's a really good like key thing. There's success and there's elite and there's the gold medal podium athletes, and there's something there that separates the two.
Yeah. And after setbacks and failures, is it that mental strength again that makes you?
Yeah, of course it's based.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a lot of people, I guess, again, when you say, obviously, I'm an individual sport, but there's so many of my team that you don't actually see or people don't get to thank because there's people like the psychologists who help me, there's the coaches, there's the people, you know, physios and the treatment and all that stuff that I'm able to access because I'm on funding. That's pinnacle to my recovery for rehabs and things like that. So, yeah.
I think defeat and disappointment is a massive weapon that you can use.
Yeah.
Massive weapon.
You thrive off it, I think.
Yeah, of course you do.
Yeah.
You learn from your losses more than you learn from your wins.
Yeah.
So,
Very wise for an under 16-year-old.
We were doing we got promoted to the Premiership 2 years ago. During that promotion battle per se, we went undefeated and we won every single game until the last game, which we drew, and it crushed us. But we learned from it more than we would have learned from. Or we just pranced with the league.
So rather than celebrating the success, you were crushed because you'd not had that 100% record.
Even though we've been promoted, I won top goal scorer, players player, but I was still emotionally crushed from that final game because I thought, we could have done better or we could have done that.
Yeah. So that's driven you on.
Just made us better ever since. Since we got promoted, we haven't got a season yet where we've been a worse position than we started. And then we finished last year. So we finished, I think, 7th last year or 9th last year, and now we're 4th. We finished 4th. So hopefully next season we'll finish 1st, but it's going to be really hard.
It's going in the right direction.
Yeah.
And talking about the right direction, and at the moment it's not a Paralympic sport, what are the reasons for that? I know we talked about it earlier, but to just refresh my memory.
The way I see it is that people can't agree on a certain set of rules. Obviously, we've got FITFA who will, allow everyone to have a regulated chair, but they can't agree on if a ball can be pushed over the line instead of just shot over the line. Because
so you physically push the chair.
Yeah. So let's say USA and France. We only played the World Cup. They played, and they would literally, it'd be a ramming battle, it'd be like robot wars.
Right.
You couldn't get past them. It was whose chair was faster.
Right.
We've been trying to play a way of, England have done a way of, you just pass around the ball, try and have as little battles as you can, because it shows off sport in a light that we want to show it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just turn it into robot wars.
Yeah, more skill, more finesse to it.
Well, presumably anyone else could, if you just get in the chair, you can just play if it's robot wars, can't you? Smash people. It's not about ability.
It's called PF1 and PF2s, which is like your range of movement.
Right.
But so not to say you couldn't jump in the chair and come play, but let's say there was someone with a disability and they were a PF2, they could jump in the chair and just ram the ball, and it doesn't show the light that we want to play.
Doesn't really sound like a sport then, does it?
No.
Takes away the skill factor. Yeah, excellent. Mark, how much do you miss playing?
Do you know what? I miss being fit more than I miss playing.
Right.
Because I finished at 29-30 because I snapped my Achilles and was never the same again. And you just get over that really, really quickly because I'm a Preston boy, played for Preston. My dad played for Preston. That once I made my debut at 17, I was like, wow, I've made it. And then the Liverpool thing was just almost like a business part of it. But no, it's just actually being fit. You just forget how fit you were because you kind of trained every day. You could eat what you want, you could drink what you want, copious amounts, and that that is the biggest thing. I think the fitness and also the kind of camaraderie.
Yeah, the team, we missed the band.
Yeah, the Mickey taking, and some of the lads now from our team live. One lives in the States, one lives in Australia. Occasionally we get together, and honestly, Mark, within 10 seconds, you're all back in the dressing room. We're all taking the pee out of each other, and that's people who've not been involved at any level like that. They just don't really get that, and they don't really understand it. And I think that's the biggest thing: the camaraderie and taking for granted the fact that you were super fit. You really, really were. Yeah. As I say, you never had to worry about what you ate or what you drank, and just get on with it.
And can you envisage a time when you're not competing again? I mean, every career comes to an end.
I haven't thought about, obviously I don't like to think about when I retire, but I was saying to Mark earlier that at the end of the day, like when it comes to a point that I'm not happy competing or I don't like competing anymore, that's the time to retire. I'd love to work and be involved with disability sport, whether that's me going into coaching as a javelin. I think we need a lot more female coaches out there as well. And I guess I've got quite a lot of experience and hopefully would like to carry on the next couple of Paralympics. I've done 3 already. Tokyo's going to be my 4th. So, but I would like to do something. Always wanted to do something involved with disability. So.
And Dylan, I mean, you've got your career ahead of you as well, but what's it done for you? What's PowerJet football done for you?
It's done. I really struggle to put into words how I feel like I've got something like a purpose to do. Before at home, I just sit there, wouldn't do anything. Football allows me to be on a level playing field, in which it is fair. It's down to your skill. It's down to your dexterity. You decide what you do. Caldwell helped me with the first sports jet. So they if it wasn't for Caldwell funding that, I honestly don't think I'd be playing football. So I'm forever in Caldwell's debt to the allowing me to play sport.
It was fantastic that you're achieving so well as well.
Just need to get your team playing purple now, and absolutely sorted.
Caldwell up to sponsors.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, well,
that's a better way of saying it.
It's very good. And what advice and encouragement would any of you give to someone who's starting out in sport and is considering to applying for us for equipment? What advice would you give?
It won't be a walk in the park. It won't. You can't take it for granted. If you're lucky enough to get the equipment, you've got to earn your right to play with it. You've got to earn your how you can play. You've got to, I don't know what the correct way of saying it, but you have to play with what you've been given.
Yeah.
You can't just say, let's say Caldwell gave someone a chair. You couldn't just say, "Oh, we're not going to play now."
Yeah.
It's not right.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair point.
It's not a walk in the park. It's not going to be easy.
And just to be clear, when people apply for sporting equipment with us, they have to have some foundation in the sport. So we won't just give a £5,000, £6,000, £7,000 sort of fundraising to a chair just for them to try it. They have to have some kind of interest. But that's very good advice.
I would say just at the end of the day, I was so lucky to be able to receive some actual training equipment for me to enable me to throw actual javelin balls, special equipment, and also to have my prosthetic arm, which was the main thing I needed. Without that, I'm not really a javelin thrower. It's so impossible for me to throw. If I do throw, it's going to go out there, so I'm going to end up killing somebody in the stadium. But and like you said, I'm very lucky, and everybody is. You pick obviously people who are dedicated and show willing and passion for what they do, and it's not a gift, it's not a free gift. So it's important, and it's great that you can tap into the facilities that you've got and the equipment, but you kind of have to earn it a little bit.
And once again we do thank the Edward Gosling Foundation, who have given us the funding, and hopefully people will apply in their droves for this equipment, and there'll be more Dylans and more Hollys applying the trade internationally. So thanks for coming in, really appreciated it.
Thank you.
And let's hope those applications come in for sports equipment.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.